You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith, and this is a conversation between myself and a guitarist called Plini. Plini's an extraordinarily accomplished guitarist, as you'll hear me praise him through the conversation. The reason for the discussion is twofold. First, he has a brand new EP out July 27th, 2018. That's called Sunhead. And he's got a tour to support that EP. That starts in August. I'll read out some dates. Friday the 7th, he's playing in Brisbane. Saturday the 8th, he's playing in Sydney. Thursday the 13th, he's playing in Perth. Friday the 14th, he's playing in Adelaide. And finally, Saturday the 15th, he is playing in Melbourne. I strongly recommend any fans of guitar playing to check out the man's work either on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, whatever it might be. He's a tremendous guitarist. Without further delay, let's see what Plini has to say. Here we go.
Andrew, you still there?
Indeed, yes.
I've got Plini on the line, so I'll leave you guys to it.
Thanks, Janine. Appreciate that. Hello, mate. How's things?
Hey, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm very good. I've been looking forward to our chat because I'm really taken with your music. I've been a big fan, and I know this isn't strictly what you do, but of electric jazz guitar for a very long time. As a matter of fact, I feel like I've been the only person that's been into it because I'm also a musician, but I play bass guitar, a little bit of guitar, but my stage instrument is bass guitar. But I've felt like when I'm going to gigs and I've got guys like Steve Kahn and Joe Pass on in the car radio or the over the speaker system in the car, I get out and then I listen to the other guys, what they've been talking about, and it's usually because I play covers music. They've been talking about blasting the new Foo Fighters record, which, to be honest with you, bores me absolutely senseless. But when I heard your music, I got to say, mate, I really felt a surge of patriotic pride because finally we have a guitarist from Australia that is an equal. And this is my words, of course. I know you're going to be very humble about this, but you're one of the greatest guitarists that I've ever heard. And I'm not just saying that. I've listened to your material quite a bit. When the opportunity to have a chat to you came up, I've done over 300 interviews, but I was really excited about having a chat to you. So guys like Kevin Borich, Ian Moss, Plini. That's where I put you. So I guess that's
thank you.
That's a point wrapped in my first question. It's really unusual for someone. Okay, so I'm 40, so I'm not going to ask for your age, but I take it you're younger than me, mate. But what got you started and what got you into this wonderful jazz fusion style music that you're playing?
Well, I grew up in a household where there was a lot of jazz. My dad is an upright bass player, cool. But I guess funnily enough, it's probably from my mum that I get most of my music taste. She was the one that would be always putting CDs on and stuff. So
yep.
First band I ever liked was probably the Beatles and then Michael Jackson, but there'd also be like Pat Metheny and John Scofield and stuff like that floating around. And then when I got into guitar, I went straight to people like Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, John Petrucci, all the like rock god sort of people. And hopefully this won't upset you, but I really didn't like jazz at all. For some reason, I just
no, it doesn't upset me. It's all good.
Didn't take any interest to, I guess, the tones and the playing style because I was into a lot of metal at the time, and I thought the harder you hit something, the better it sounded.
Yeah.
And then I guess I just slowly opened my mind up a bit and then got into more of the fusion side of things, like Alan Holdsworth, and pretty much anything that just totally scared me because I had no idea what was happening. So I sort of started listening to Holdsworth and more Pat Metheny and stuff like that. But at the same time, that's probably only a small part of my listening habits. There's also still a lot of metal and like hip hop and R&B and stuff like that. But I suppose once I started getting a little less infatuated with like electric guitarists who played the instrument like it was the only thing that mattered, I started getting more interested in composition and other instruments and that sort of thing.
Sweet. What about, now I'm a big death metal fan as well, so don't worry about any comments about metal. I do get right into the metal. And I can hear through your playing, now I could be wrong here, but the influence of Paul Masvidal from Cynic and, of course, the Grand Master himself, the patron saint of heavy metal, Mr. Chuck Schuldiner. How about those two particular artists there? Have they had an impact on you in any way?
I've never really listened to Death, but I have listened to Cynic heaps, and actually toured with them in Japan a few years ago and got to meet
Sweet.
Paul, and
Yeah.
he's become a pretty good friend because he's like the sweetest, most down to earth guy. And I think doing that tour made me more of a fan of Cynic, and then I went back and listened to all their albums a lot more closely. And he's got an amazing style.
Mate, the new album, or new EP, I should say, Sunhead, what can you tell us about that? Is that a continuation of the music that you've released to date, or is there some new and different stuff that are going to be heard on the EP?
I guess it is a continuation because it's still me writing music, and it's only been a couple of years since the last thing I released, which I think in the grand scheme of things is not much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as a person, I don't know that I've necessarily developed a crazy amount in the last 2 years. But I think that's part of the fun of writing music as well, is it's kind of a diary of how you feel or where your head's at a time.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the difference between it and stuff I've done before is I've done a shitload of touring since then. So I've been pretty much and seen a lot of the world, which has been really exciting. And I've met a lot of bands that I look up to and met lots of musicians, just seen all these crazy things. And I think that's made me a little more open to different ideas and more willing to explore different things. Like, I'll go to a country and eat something I would never normally eat at home.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the same with music. Like, I'm more open to hearing a sax line in my head and then getting a saxophone player to play it, or hearing like a hip hop groove and then just using it and not being worried that it's too far out of the box.
So you got this tour. You got this tour coming up. Do you do a lot of improvisation with that sort of stuff, or do you stick to what you've done on the EP because that's what fans want to hear?
It's a bit of both. Most of the songs are fairly written, like in a specifically composed way, so we play that, but at the same time playing them, after maybe 10 times playing the same song, you start to find little ways you can tweak it and then changing sections here and there.
Yeah, I get that.
And after going to lots and lots of shows, I find that there are only a few bands that can pull off playing like a perfect replica of a studio recording and still sort of get my full attention, because after a point it just looks like a bunch of people doing more of a recital than a performance.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the bands that throw in something improvised, even if it's a band like Opeth where the singer is making jokes in between songs, which is totally not like a death metal thing at all, I find that element of the performance really good. So we put in drum solos, bass solos, new guitar solos, stuff like that, just to change it up.
There's this. I was talking to Dave from Caligula's Horse, their bass player, yesterday, 2 days ago. Sorry,
awesome.
Yeah, good bloke. And there's this. I'm not going to call it a resurgence because I don't know whether we've had it before. I mentioned at the beginning of our conversation leading lights like Kevin Borich, Ian Moss. So there are always these man mountain of guitarists that were just standing tall above everybody else. But at the moment, I'm trying to be a bit more measured in my praise here. I do feel like you are the most accomplished guitarist coming out of this country at the moment. But there's a whole bunch of other bands. I mean, I couldn't name all of them, so I won't even name any. But I'll simply say that we've got a plethora of musicians that they make me feel bloody completely inadequate, and I've been playing for 25 years. I play funk and groove and disco. I mean, I might listen to metal, but the music that I play is pop music effectively. But what do you put the extraordinary explosion of wonderful musicianship down to, or can it be put down to anything in this country at the moment?
I'm not sure, because I mean, I feel totally the same way. Every time I go on the internet, I see guitarists who are like 15 years old or 20 years old who play a million times better than me. So I think there must be just some sort of global exponential growth at being good at things. So I guess maybe also to do with the internet, because I would guess that 40 or 50 years ago, the only way to hear about guitar music would be someone's like fan newsletter or maybe a very niche record store that was stocking that sort of stuff. Whereas everyone in Australia has access to all the same music as everyone in the States now or the UK, and we're all getting Guitar World and all those magazines. So we have the ability to sort of get good at the same rate. So, and I think it makes sense. We've got a population of however many people that there should be a lot of great musicians here, just like there are everywhere. And then again, with the internet, it's easy to find out about them. Like, even though so many good musicians live in Sydney, a lot of them I've met on the internet before seeing them in real life.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah. I do a lot of writing, of course, and something that I'm really particular on is I've got kids myself, as I was saying to Janine earlier, and one of the things that I noticed that kids are very much drawn to bloody iPads and iPhones, but it's not constructive stuff. It's stupid apps that have got games on them, and just stuff that really is just a pastime, or really, in my words, waste time. Another thing I was really impressed with about yourself, mate, is that you're offering the sheet music and you're offering the music, the transcriptions to your music. So if somebody out there wants to, they can play along to your music and they don't have to sit there trying to figure it out, which of course is half the fun in it, but it can be pretty frustrating when you're not such an accomplished guitarist like myself and you're trying to figure out something by ear that you've played, but you're actually providing the sheet music, which gives people an avenue. It sort of breaks down barriers and breaks down some walls. So is that something that you purposely thought of when you were releasing the transcriptions to the songs?
Yeah, because I think my main focus is composition rather than guitar playing. So I'm not worried that the guitarist is going to learn my licks and then take my job because they can play guitar better than me. And I think it's also nice to see stuff like this. When you see it laid out into different parts, you realize that it's not actually that complicated. Like, there's a lot of repeating parts and there's a lot of simple chords that most people already know, but just maybe played with another part that you might not have distinguished on the recording. And I think sort of that simplifications, that's definitely how I have learned a lot of music, is seeing guitarists demonstrate their approach to stuff. And I think it can be helpful.
Yeah, look, before I got on the phone to yourself, we're doing this, playing the Treasury Casino up here in Brisbane, and I've got to play a bunch of ABBA songs. So thankfully there's a lot of ABBA tablature available online, so I can't read sheet music, or I used to be able to, but you lose it if you don't keep it up, as you're probably aware, but I can certainly read tablature. But there's a heap of other stuff. We've got an Oz Rock tribute show, so I'm playing songs by bands like Mondo Rock, and of course there's no tablature out there. I wish there was, because you end up spending hours just trying to get it right, because you want to maintain the perfection of your craft at the same time. And I guess that my point there would just be to give you another compliment about offering the sheet music or the transcriptions of the music you've got, because it will be the difference, I think, between somebody, a young guy or girl, 15 or 16, I'm just painting this picture, getting into your music and then picking up a guitar for the first time and then feeling that sense of being overwhelmed and then thinking, God, I wish I knew how that part went, and then finding it and that inspiration. Okay, now I've got it. Because I remember doing that when I was listening along to, remember Marty Friedman's licks in Megadeth in the 90s, off Euthanasia or whatever it might have been, and you're thinking, God, how do you do that? And then Guitar World released Train of Consequences or what have you, and you're like, now I can see it. Now I know how it goes. But you've taken away a lot of that if factor. So I guess that's just a point to dovetail what we were just talking about there, mate. And I better make this my final question. What do you think the future holds for you? Because I imagine, mate, there's a big demand for you to play overseas. Yeah,
I mean, I'm going to Europe in a couple of weeks for some more shows, and then back at the end of the year supporting a couple of bands. And I was talking to my booking agent there, and it's almost like, because Europe is so big and there's places I still haven't been, it's almost like a never-ending trip to just keep going and playing more shows. I think for the time being, I'm just really excited to go anywhere I haven't been, or even somewhere I have already been, and play music, because it hasn't been that long. Mm-hmm. But then it would be nice to get to a point where instead of being away 6 or 7 months a year, I'm away like 3 or 4 and able to play bigger, more beautiful venues and have bigger production, maybe do stuff like work with orchestras or other players and that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great, yeah. Well, mate, I'll leave it there. Please keep on doing what you've been doing. I've thoroughly enjoyed watching your career so far, and I can't wait to see where you end up over the next 20 to 25 odd years and beyond.
Thanks a lot. I'll
Thanks.
see you in Brizzy, I guess.
Oh, absolutely, mate. I'll be in the crowd there. Yeah, I'll throw the horns up for you.
Awesome. See ya.
Thanks, mate. Catch ya. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith, and that was my conversation with a fellow who goes by the name of Plini. Thank you so much for listening.